It's your boy, the Bearded Comic Bro, and I am joined by the one, the only Mars, that comic girl. What's up?
Howdy, howdy, howdy. It's your girl, and I'm with my favorite dude, Bearded Comic Bro, and we're here to talk about our favorite lady in the universe right now.
Yes, we are. If you guys aren't familiar, we are the presidents, the co-presidents of the Yara Flor fan club. It's not officially licensed by DC yet, fan club, but they should get on that. Like,
so DC Comics, if you're watching, because you're totally watching,
as they should.
Can you just like endorse me and Bearded Comic Bro as the presidents of the Yara Flor fan club? We will accept the title because I think we already have.
Right. And we'll literally, if you guys give it to anyone else, we'll fight them. So
on the street we will fight them.
We will hunt them down. We'll look at their Twitter handle, and we'll find them like, hold on, you need to relinquish your fake crown.
100%.
Oh, I'm excited. This is our first recorded, edited, whatever content. We've been on some live streams together over on Wildebeest with Comic Talk Live. And we've always been in each other's chats, and through those conversations, interactions, we discovered that we have a huge just love for our girl Yara Flor.
I think that's how we first met. I think the first met I was on was we didn't get to read Wonder Girl because of a certain someone who will remain unnamed and made me read Deep Beyond. But then me and Greg were like, hey, we love Yara Flor. We're going to talk about Yara Flor anyway. And I think that's just where our friendship stemmed.
Yeah, I think I kept bringing it up throughout the episode because it wasn't on our list of books to read, and I was like, I want to talk about it because it was when Future State came out, and that was that issue, and I was like, oh, we got to talk about this, and then it just blossomed into a beautiful friendship of our
beautiful
love of
friendship,
Yara.
Beautiful fan club, beautiful presidency.
Right, like expect to be having shirts made here soon. That you can
100%.
You can buy Yara Flor fan club shirts on our site. We'll figure out. We'll start to make treasures and things like that, and secretaries and all the steps we have to. But
which is nowhere presidents.
Yeah, that's right. Well, let me ask then, what for you? Because I know what I will say, and I will. But what was it for you that drew you into Yara Flor?
So oddly enough, when they first announced Yara Flor, I was like, oh, she's cool. She's badass. But I was like, Wonder Woman, I love Wonder Woman, but I've never been able to connect with Wonder Woman. There's something that's always felt otherworldly about her that I just couldn't resonate with no matter how many series I tried or this or that. So adding somebody new to the Wonder Woman universe, I was like, okay, I'll check it out, but I'm not going to be excited. Average girl, I need to read the girl book. Okay, I'm gonna do it. But it was that first issue and seeing that Yara was kind of like me, where she was like this spunky little badass with anger issues, and she's like, oh, whoops, I broke this, but here you go, you can have this back. She is always the one that punches first and then either apologizes or asks questions later. And it's just a character that I resonate with. I love characters like that. Oddly enough, she reminds me of Red Sonja from Dynamite Comics in terms of her spunkiness and her fieriness. And of course, that conflicting feeling of, do I want to be Yara Flor or do I want to be with Yara Flor? And it just kind of went from there.
Yeah, I think that's what's so unique and so interesting about Yara. I mean, first and foremost, we finally have someone who's from the Amazon portraying the an Amazonian so first off, that's fantastic. And I was first kind of exposed to her with the whole death metal, and I only bought issue 7 because she was in it. I'm like, I'm curious about this character. And when I read Future State, the book, Joelle Jones, it's beautiful. I mean,
it is.
First off, when you can do writing and art on a book in and of itself, props to you.
It's a hard thing to do. I mean,
yes,
we see it a lot, and I don't want to say that it's just with female creators because those are the ones that are sticking off of the top of my head right now. But let's look at Mirka Andolfo. Let's look at Maria Lovett, who are both doing the same thing, where they are doing creator-owned stuff. Now Joelle Jones hasn't done really creator-owned stuff other than Lady Killer, which I believe the first volume was done with Jamie S. Rich as the writer, not even herself. But we look at even Joelle Jones as Catwoman.
Yep.
which was probably one of the most engaging Catwoman series we had ever gotten. It was interesting. It was flawless. It drew people in. It didn't feel convoluted, didn't feel boring. There was emotion to it. There was action to it. And Joelle Jones did it once again with Future State Wonder Woman and continues to bring that into Wonder Girl. It
Yep.
makes me want her on like 20 different series.
Yeah, it does, except for the fact that I don't want her on 20 different series because I want her to put all her effort into Wonder Girl
Oh,
because
facts.
I want it to be the cream de la creme, like
The perfect book, and we don't want
right.
to wear her out.
Right. I want to pace for that. But I remember reading issue 1, like, and all the things that you said in that Future State, like this was one that I was super excited about. She has that just personality that you are attracted to that personality. Like it is someone that you
Mhm.
want, like you said, I want to be friends with.
It's an
And
energy. Like she's the
yes.
type of girl that I would see at a bar and I'd be like, okay, I want to sit down and have drinks with you and just hang out because you have that energy, that positivity, and it draws people to you, you know?
Yeah, and I think that's what's starting to get to for me, which I'm loving because I love Wonder Woman. I'm newer to the Wonder Woman scene. I think I started to appreciate Wonder Woman more once Gal Gadot took into that role, and I fell in
Mhm.
love with her in Wonder Woman. I'm like, okay, I want to explore Wonder Woman as a character more now. But there still is just something where it's stoic about Wonder Woman as a persona, like where you're just like, but man, Yara is she's like you said, she's spunky. She has this energy that just you
She's the
see her,
cool girl
she's
on the
different.
block.
Yes, but she's a cool girl on the block without coming off of saying I'm the cool girl on the block. Like she has that energy too, where she doesn't like flaunt in front like of you, like, hey, I'm the cool girl on the block. She does it just naturally, and I
Exactly. She's very down to earth, but at the same time, she's going to do, I mean, I feel like in her mind, she always has the right mindset,
right.
but at the end of the day, she's going to do what she wants to do. It just happens to be that her personality and how she vibes with things, it's always with good intentions.
Yeah, because you get to see a little bit of that, I think, in Wonder Girl issue 1. We'll talk about that. We'll be bouncing back between Wonder Girl issue 1 and Future State 1 because they're both kind of two separate entities of looks of what we get of
Mm-hmm.
Yara Flor, because we get to see, I think, her more formed as Yara Flor and Future State. And I'm assuming Wonder Girl is a little bit more of a prequel to get to where we were getting to that.
That's what I'm assuming.
That's
Yeah.
what I'm reading from that. But I don't know about you, but there was a panel in Wonder Girl 1 where I felt where we were already Yara Flor fan clubs, and I felt it to the core of my soul that I'm like, yep, Yara is mine. And she is on the bus, on
I
this
knew
tour
it.
bus.
I was going to say, okay.
And there's a panel of her with her hands in her face like this, because the rest of the tour bus is doing this shabua, shabua roll call. My name is, and I'm just like, oh, like I would do the exact same thing if I was on a tour bus. I'd be looking at my wife going, what are they doing? Why are we on this tour bus? Like I felt her
Okay.
pain in my soul.
Mine is slightly different. Mine is the one when she's with the bus driver and she's leaning over the bus driver and she's just got this little coy grin on her face and the bus driver's kind of like, uh-huh. And I'm like, that's exactly how I feel with Yara Flor to a T. That is me. That bus, I want to be that bus driver.
Because he noticed, he's like, oh, something's different. And you're right. Like she just is leaning over like, oh, there's an accident. And he's like, okay. But man, it's just like, and that's what's so cool. Like she's natural, she's down to earth. And I love it. And I'm so excited just for the world that Joelle Jones is creating, and the Jordan Belair on top two being a part of this book.
Mm-hmm.
It's fantastic.
Because it is a whole world. We get to see Olympus. We get to see Themyscira with Queen Nubia now at its helm. It's no longer Hippolyta. It's now Queen Nubia, which, by the way, the way that Joelle Jones draws women of color, because we see it not only with Yara, we see it with Nubia, we see it with a couple of other unnamed characters in the book. It's very easy with a style like Joelle Jones, I feel like, to get those features lost. When I think about certain artists like Terry Dodson, it feels like every character, Terry Dodson, David Finch, it feels like every character is the same. J. Scott Campbell, every character is the same in their face. It's just a different costume or a different hairstyle. Whereas if you were to hypothetically paper doll, if you will, a Joelle Jones character, and paper doll where they don't have the hair, they're just in like a little bathing suit, you wouldn't be able, you'd be able to tell who these characters are because of
Right.
the way that she defines their facial features and even in their sizings. Whereas with a lot of other creators, it slaps some color and some hair on somebody and, it could be whoever it is.
Right. Yeah. So what was it then? What did you love about issue one, or did you love issue one even?
Issue one was, I don't want to say a disappointment because I love Yara Flor. I don't care. I'm going to buy 1,000 copies of this book. I bought 3 different covers of this book. I don't care. But I think coming off of Future State, which was so fast paced, so
Right.
action packed, it literally threw us into the middle of Yara Flor's story. And that's what we were used to. And that's what I wanted more of that. And then kind of having to flick that switch in my brain to realize, okay, we're transitioning from obviously Wonder Woman to Wonder Girl, and it's now more of an origin story. So of course it's going to be a little bit of a slower burn, but even so, the way that Joelle Jones paces her story, it still leaves me engaged. I still get that witty personality from Yara, which is what drew me to her in the first place. So I feel like if she did not have that spunky personality that we love, I feel like the issue could have gotten very lost.
Yeah.
But again, as we talked about, Joelle Jones is setting up a huge world with these 3 entities respectively. Like I said, we have Olympus, we have Themyscira, and then there's a third one that I can't think of off the top of my
Bar
head.
Bar
We're gonna cheat here,
Bana
guys.
Bana Medell.
Bana Madal. So it's
Yep.
these 3 different territories or countries or nations, respectively, and Joelle Jones is giving us a sneak peek and is kind of building the world up for all 3. Even if we're already familiar with Olympus and Themyscira, it's 2 totally different versions of it now, so it's exciting to see that.
Yeah, and by the way, I snuck a peek at that panel you were talking about where he's like so easily distracted.
It's me, man.
uh yeah, it is the world she is creating. It's huge, and I get that of like you go from, we know, like she doesn't become like Wonder Girl in issue one. She was already
Mm-hmm.
Wonder Girl in Future State issues 1 and 2. So we are getting this kind of origin story, which is an interesting move because, going from Future State, like you wonder, like, would they drop it in like, hey, let's go into a 6 story issue first and then maybe backtrack onto the origin a little bit later
Mm-hmm.
on. But I think the point you made was so true. The who she is in Future State issue number 1, where she's, just her spunky attitude with what's the horse, Jeff,
Jerry.
Jerry, right? Like Jerry, and just her interaction with the other character in that book, like it translates, even though she's not Wonder Girl yet, it seems like in issue 1 of Wonder Girl, her personality is still there, and it
It's still
still
there.
feels so much like a Yara Flor book, that from just a short time frame that we've gotten from it.
Absolutely. And we're already starting to see the buildup of Wonder Girl. Because if we see in the last couple pages of Wonder Girl number 1, when she's dragged into the sea by this beautiful, at least I think she was kind of beautiful, but this
Mm-hmm.
nymph like mermaid like creature, we can see Yara's lasso, which is actually, I believe, a bolus, if I'm using that
I
term
think so.
correctly.
Yeah, I think
It's a
so.
bolus, which
Yeah.
I also think is really interesting. The fact that they've changed up, familiar tools of the Wonder Woman lore and have kind of crafted it, I think, more so to suit Yara, because if you think about it, a lasso is really used to restrain and protect, whereas Yara's has these heavy ass balls on the end of it that could obviously do some damage. So I feel like I cracked the code. And it's kind of to distinguish their 2 personalities. But going back to what I was saying, with issue 1, we can kind of see that bolus in the water. So I feel
Yeah.
like we're slowly setting it up. And that being said, it makes me really excited because I want to see the origin story of Yara and Jerry. It's going to be the cutest thing in the world, and I need it.
It's gonna be fantastic. It's gonna be so good because that part of the I remember reading it and going, huh. And I'm like, I don't know if I should like this. And I was like, but I like this a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And
Exactly.
it's adorable, it's perfect, it's fantastic. And yeah, what I just think it's so interesting to see where they're going to be taken, because we, like you said, we already gotten a glimpse at Yara a little bit as Wonder Girl, from Future State, and then to see like, well, how did she get that relationship with Jerry, and how did she become who she naturally is, because you get a glimpse of it a little bit. They show even a little bit of the origin of her in the first couple pages of, where her village was being attacked, and she goes and just jabs a knife into this dude's leg, who, like,
Hmm.
she had to be like 8 years old or something. Again,
I would say younger than that. I
younger. Oh
would say
yeah,
like 5 or 6.
5 or 6. But that again shows you, like, where you get the spunky, you know, the quirky, commentary that Yara brings, but then also where she just is a certified, bona fide, hands down, tough lady. And
She's
you
doing
see,
that hot girl shit.
yeah, and she's doing it right off the bat, and she stabs the dude in the thigh, like, because she has no fear. And I was like, okay, this is where you get the molding of her personality, of who she is and who
Mhm.
she's going to be. And I think that's going to be good, because it sets her apart from, predecessors of previous Wonder Girls, Wonder Woman comparisons and things like that. It's not just it's not trying to just take someone in place, make a new character. Like, they're using elements of Wonder Girl and Wonder Woman lore and making a brand new character.
Exactly. And bouncing off of that little glimpse of her origin that we get, and this does tie in with the future state issues as well. And I believe that this is probably another reason why I love Yara, because I personally am not only drawn to badass ladies and very, very cute ladies, but I am also drawn to characters that have those sort of tragic origins. Now, I'm not talking about Bruce Wayne tragedy, where he kind of mucked around for 40 years and was like, oh, this is all I'm going to talk about, blah 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 blah, because we've seen Yara experience loss not once but twice. So in Wonder Girl #1, we see her stab the guy in the leg, and she's faced with the consequences of either being killed herself, or in the instance that we see, her mother sacrifices herself for Yara, and Yara is forced to flee not only the situation but the country, and I believe her just entire backstory and her entire people and culture in general, because it's something that they talk about very briefly in
Right.
issue 1. But again, we also see Yara experience loss in Future State #2, because if we remember, the whole premise of Future State was Yara was going to hell to return somebody that was stolen. And I don't know about you, but I personally was led to believe all through issue 1, okay, Yara's going to hell to retrieve Diana, aka Wonder Woman. And then it was kind of flipped on us that it was a fallen sister that Yara may or may not have had, and this is me reaching here as the queer comic aunt, romantic connections with.
Yeah.
So we've seen Yara experience that loss and that pain, but we haven't let it drastically change her in the way that, say, I'm gonna bring him back again, but Bruce Wayne has.
Yeah. It'll be interesting, because y'all know I'm a huge Batman fan, but
Had no idea.
right? Like, you would never know. Her loss is a difference, because, right, like, this is something that she really initiated, her actions. There were consequences to it. Now, you could say, like, maybe something would have happened anyways, but she sped it along. So, does that play into deciding who she is and as a person, of, like, knowing, like, her actions of, deciding to attack the leader that was attacking the village, and then possibly dying, and then her mom stepping in to save her. It's a little different. I know, like, some Batman origin stories, they try and make it where it's like Bruce Wayne's like, I gotta leave the theater, I'm scared, and so, like, that's why. But it's not Bruce's actions that cause something
Mhm.
to happen.
But
So
at the end of the day, Yara Flor is a flawed heroine, even without seeing,
right,
we see that in issue 1 of Future State. She does things, rash things, like we were talking about before, where she kind of acts and then deals with the consequences later.
right,
And I love that. I love the idea that in the Wonder Woman mythos, there is a flawed heroine, because as we've been talking about, Wonder Woman, Donna Troy. I mean, Donna Troy has definitely faced her own form of loss,
right.
with having to be reincarnated over and over again, and losing family over and over again. But these characters still kind of feel untouchable and godly and otherworldly, whereas Yara, again, is just the average. She almost feels like a street level hero in
Right.
her own way. She feels like a street level hero. Like, I need her in the Birds of Prey, because I just think it would be really fun.
Um, when you realize you need something that you never knew you needed in your life,
Was
that
that
just
it?
happened. I need her. I need her. Yeah, because she is this. we haven't gotten to see the godlikeness of you get that of Wonder Woman or something that's built into the ethos that we're already familiar with. This
Mhm.
is something that we're new and experiencing, and I think it probably plays into just how down to earth she comes off of, but even when like in issue 1 here where what's her friend like Kevin, who's probably like a comic YouTuber like me,
He's
it's like
definitely a comic YouTuber.
he's like, hey, my girl, and she's like, I'm not your girl, I'm a grown woman. Like, okay. Like
He
she
loves
just
her.
she tells you how it is, but you throw out that interesting point. Like she also is a hero who doesn't sit back and say, okay, I'm gonna weigh out everything. I'm just gonna act, and you saw that in issue 1 with the bus. There wasn't, because of that, she saved the guy's life. But she doesn't think about like, okay, well, if I do this and this, what are my actions? She's just like, giddy up. I'm gonna do what I
I'm
think
gonna do it and deal with
yep.
the consequences later on, whether they're good or whether they're bad.
Yep. And by the way, I just realized you had the Catwoman poster behind you right now as we're talking about Joelle.
Oh, yeah, I do. It's great. It's
It's
fantastic.
fitting. So, well, we've been ranting about Yara for almost 30 minutes
Already?
already,
Oh
which
man.
we could go on forever, and we probably can, and we who's to say we won't. Let me ask you this: what's just one thing that you would love to see? I know you already mentioned Jerry the horse, not horse, but you know what I'm saying, or Pegasus, like
Pegasi.
Pegasi. Is that I don't know what I
I
don't
think
know.
that's the plural version of Pegasus.
What's something that you would really just love to see? And I know it's a slippery slope when you play this game when you're talking about comic books of like, I'd love to see this happening or this kind of they go this route.
Well, I definitely want to see her in the Birds of Prey. So DC, wink, wink, cough, cough. But I
Well,
don't
they're
think
already listening because they're watching this and
they're already watching. So like that's kind of reaching. So I feel like that's cheating because I already mentioned it. I personally am just kind of, and I feel like this is inevitable what we're gonna see. I am really excited to see her meet with Diana Prince, like in the mainline timeline, not like DC Metal or anything like that. I want to see how these two characters interact because I feel like with how their personalities are contrasting, I feel like Diana might kind of oust Yara and be like, you're too brash, you're too angry, you're too quick in your actions. And I feel like that would make Yara mad, is because they're supposed to share this title. They're supposed to share this kind of, you know, I don't want to say aura, but it's that whole
yeah.
wonder title, you know? And I feel like that could be something where maybe Yara looks up to Diana, and maybe that's why she's assuming the whole Wonder Girl persona. And then it's almost like, you know, never meet your heroes, basically. I'm really excited to see if and when these two characters come together because of how different they are. And yet they have to share this kind of space together.
Yeah, I think that'd be super interesting to just see that dynamic, see what that world is that they've created, because Yara feels like you said, she feels more like a street level hero.
Mhm.
And maybe it's just because we don't know enough about her, but even when we saw her in Future State as like a godlike, character
Killing
still,
hydras, killing
right.
big monsters.
It didn't feel like she's bulletproof. She's, blocking
Yeah.
off bullets. Like it just felt like she had some help with some supernatural characters that helped her out. And it'd be interesting to see that happen. And I think I would really just love DC to put all their eggs in this basket and kind of push it a little bit more of, you know, DC doesn't seem to have a lot of street level. And again, we're using the street level term, and she's not a street level
No,
character.
she's not.
She's not. But they don't have really too many street level characters except for your Birds of Prey, right? Like your Batgirl,
Mhm.
and your Harley Quinn if you want to throw her into the mix, and things like
Not
that.
only that, but you know, and I believe that this is something we were discussing backstage, but Yara Flor feels like the first new character we've gotten from DC
Yes.
Comics in a long time that has really kind of stuck and that they're really pushing. Personally, I think the most recent one that I can think of is Sojourner from Future State. But even that didn't feel that felt quite off, and maybe that's because she's a Green Lantern, and because the Green Lanterns are huge, and also too because she started off very isolated and is
Right.
now finally getting into the mainstream universe, if you will. Whereas when we look at the other side of the table at Marvel, and we see all of these like new characters that we've gotten over the years, we've gotten Young Avengers, we've gotten Gwenpool, we've gotten Spider-Gwen herself, Silk, all of these new
Miles
fun
Morales, even.
Miles Morales, even because they're pushing him as well. We've gotten so many new characters, that the publisher is pushing, and it feels like DC Comics hasn't really done that. They'd rather stick with Batman. They'd rather stick with what they know, with what sells, and leave it at that. And I guess my biggest hope, if we're going on this, is I want Yara Flor to be the next Spider-Gwen. I want to have all this merchandise for Yara Flor again, because we're presidents of the Yara Flor fan club. I want statues. I want Funkos. I want dumb little wallets that I can find in Hot Topic. I want a whole Yara Flor section on Hot Topic. Okay. I just want everything.
Right. I want to walk into Party City with my, at the time at Halloween, my 4-year-old daughter and her going, I want to be Yara. I'm I want there to be,
Okay.
I want there to be that excitement. And obviously, because there will be in this household about Yara Flor, with my girls,
Of
they'll
course.
they'll think she's bigger than anyone. But I think this is, like you said, it's a new character they've tried. They were trying to do it with, Batman, the next Batman that they're doing. I don't think it's going to pan out long term. They tried it back in the 90s with, with the Nightfall series with Batman, trying to oh, maybe we do like a metal suit Batman with claws, and
Yeah, I'm
just
pushing Azrael and stuff.
it just doesn't, they haven't, it feels like DC pulls back too quick, and of oh, this isn't going to work, and they pull it back way too quick, where I hope they don't do that with Yara. I hope they say, you know what, let's throw in as much as we can to hype this up, promote this. Because I was out of collecting when Spider-Gwen, kind of rose up to the scene. So I don't even know, and so if or if people are, you're watching on, at home, was that something that happened right from day one? As soon as Spider-Gwen was announced, it popped off?
It
Or was,
popped. I think it popped off. I wasn't
okay.
collecting Marvel at the time, but I know, and I'm blanking right now on the series, but I know that it was kind of like this anthology-esque series where Spider-Man was jumping, between different timelines, and
Yeah.
he had just happened, we had fallen into one where it was Gwen Stacy who was bitten by the radioactive spider, and surprisingly enough, it was something that we had never really seen before, and it just caught fire, and it went to, I think that issue alone went to like 7 or 8 printings. Then it ended up that she got her own series, and it just kind of exploded from there. And I mean, also too, speaking of Spider-Gwen, we had Gwenpool, which showed up on a variant cover because they were just happening to do, Deadpool inspired covers, and people loved it so much that she got her own series, became her own character, and now occasionally shows up in the Marvel universe. I want that for DC. We need that for DC because we haven't seen that yet. I feel like they're trying with pushing characters like Punchline and Miracle Molly, but again, you're being too safe because you're staying within that little Batman bubble that you've created, where that's the only thing that's going to succeed, because that's the only thing that you're going to allow to succeed. But that is a conversation for a whole nother day.
And we can have that for sure, and I think we should, because it warrants it. Yeah, I think they definitely could. Wonder Girl has a chance for its, herself to grow here, if DC allows it to. The fact that I think there were 3 variant covers on issue 1.
And it still hasn't even gone to second printing at the time of filming.
You have the sketch cover. You had the cardstock that they do. You had the 1 in 25. Which
and
is
the main
beautiful.
cover. Yeah, you had the Bilquis Isley, and I'm probably pronouncing that wrong. I apologize. And actually I have them here. So we had the Bilquis Isley variant cover. We had the J. Scott Campbell 1 in 25, and then of course we had our main cover by Joelle Jones, which they're all absolutely gorgeous. Right. But I was ready to buy like a million, and even when we think about the retailer variants, You know, there was only maybe like 1 or 2 or 3 retailer variants, and I was ready to sink my heart and my wallet
I don't do
into a
variants.
million retailers.
I'm not Jennifer. All right? I'm not a comic book breaker. I don't buy variants off like
But you do for your girl, Yara
but I
Flor.
would for Yar. And so I bought this because one day this is going to be just covered with a beautiful sketch by Joelle Jones of Yara Flor
It's gonna be gorgeous.
someday. And it's gonna replace my Ryan Stegman sketch behind me. It's gonna be the creme de la creme again. So um man, anything else you want to talk about Yara before we wrap this up for episode 1? Because I feel like we're
Mm,
gonna come back and talk more about
we're
Yara.
gonna come back.
We
We've
can't
already
not.
we've already decided. Like, if we can talk this much on episode or on issue 1, episode 1, issue 1, obviously it's just gonna keep rolling. Just that Yara Flor should DM me, take me to prom, I'll take her to dinner, and make me your girlfriend. Like, hey, like, come on, man, DC Comics, just confirm that me and Bearded Comic Bro are presidents of the fan club,
Check.
and then confirm that me and Yara Flor are girlfriends, and I can die happy. It's a simple list.
Well, I know 2 of those 2 things are gonna happen. So it's
Two of
gonna
those 2 things are gonna happen.
2 of those 2
Nice.
things are gonna happen. So it's
Love
gonna work.
that.
So, well, Mars, thank you so much for just taking some time and hanging out with me and talking about our girl Yara. Man, this
Thanks for
was
taking the chance on me to not froth at the mouth like a total psychopath over Yara Flor, because I remember that first week and I was just like, man, Yara Flor, she's the biggest babe. I would die for her. And those feelings, they still stand. But I feel like I'm a little bit more composed now. I have more thoughts rather than just, oh, pretty girl. I mean, that thought is still there, but you know.
I mean, so, and I am hoping by the time we do our second episode, around the time issue 2 comes out or after issue 2, we're going to be talking about news of statues and figures and pops and
Funkos. Just not a sideshow, because I can't afford that stuff.
no,
right now,
like
okay?
give me the $50 statues. I don't like whatever. I don't need the expensive ones. Give me the cheap stuff, because good golly, if you put out a sideshow one, I'm gonna get it, because it's probably, if it's the only thing out there, I'm gonna get it. But don't do it, DC. Like, ease me into it, okay? Like, don't make Yara Flora make my wife mad at me by buying that $500 statue.
They need to be on good terms.
That's right. So, all right. Well, we are wrapping up episode 1 of the Yara Flor fan club. Let us know what you want us to talk about in the comments of, Yara. If you've got things that, we missed or things that we said wrong, let us know.
Do we do a whole episode about Jerry the Pegasus?
Yes. I'll comment on my own comment on my own show. Yes, we will. We will do an entire episode on Jerry. And it'll be fantastic. But let us know if you want to be a member of the R4 fan club. You can't be presidents, but we'll take memberships eventually. So
Memberships, absolutely. Our army is growing, the Yara army,
because that's the only way I think we got to spread the gospel of Yara Flor, right? Like we got to
I like that.
We got to let people know about it, and as we tell more people will know and be a fan of that. So with that being said, hopefully you can find some time to curl up, grab a book, and nerd out. Peace.